Assalamu alaikum. I am Nadia. My roll number is 16. Today my presentation topic is population, sample and sample size. This assignment was given us by our teacher Dr. Amjad Ali Arain. So before starting the presentation, I would like to give the presentation outline. The topics which this presentation will cover are: what is population, types of population, what is sample, kinds of sample, representative sample and parameter and statistics, statistical inference of parameter and statistic, what is a sample size, and factors involved in calculating sample size. So first we are going to tell what is population. Okay, a population is a group of elements or cases, whether individuals, objectives, or events that conform to specific criteria and to which we intend to whom it can be generalized. Pollitt and Hunger in 1999 referred to the population as an aggregate or totality of all the objects, subjects, or members that conform to a set of specification. Basically, a research population is also known as collection of individuals or objects known to have similar characteristics. All individuals or objects within a certain population usually have a common binding characteristics or traits. A population study is a study of group individuals taken from the general population who share a common characteristics. The characteristics such as age, sex, or health conditions. This group may be studied for different reasons. For example, a researcher wants to find the effects of teachers' feedback on the students' performance. So the research population for this study will be the teachers and the students. Here the common characteristics can be students' age, sex, class, subject, scores, and for the teachers the common characteristics can be age, gender, qualification, their subject of teaching, assessment tools they are using in the class, and so on. Okay, there are two types of population in research. The first type is target population, which refers to the entire group of individuals or objects to which researchers are interested in generalizing the conclusions. The target population usually has varying characteristics and it is also known as the theoretical population. Second one is accessible population. The accessible population in the research is to which the researchers can apply their conclusions. For example, in our research of finding the effects of teachers' feedback on their students' performance, the target population can be the entire schools, teachers, and the students. But the accessible population can be the specific students and teachers of classes which are used to require this as a subset of that population. After that, the whole is called population. Then we are going to discuss what is sample. A sample is a subset of a population selected to participate in the study. It is a fraction of the whole selected to participate in the research. So it is a subset of whole, means it is a part of whole population. The sample is a group of elements or a single element from which data are obtained. For example, our target population of research is high school teachers and students. The sample can be smaller portion of that selected by different sampling techniques which have the same characteristics of that population. We have different kinds of sample. There are two. First one is complete sample. A complete sample is a set of objects from a parent population that includes all such objects that satisfy a set of well-defined selection criteria. Second one is unbiased or representative sample. An unbiased representative sample is a set of objects chosen from a complete sample using a selection process that does not depend on the properties of the objects. Unbiased or representative sample can be drawn in two ways. One is random sample, or the second one is non-random or non-probability sample. Then comes the question, what is representative sample? A representative sample is a small quantity of something that accurately reflects the larger entity. For example, in a classroom of 30 students, in which half the students are male and half are female, a representative sample might include 6 students, 3 males and 3 females, because there is a proportion of 15-15, so we can cut them down to 3 and 3. Properties of representative sample. Representative sample must show the characteristics of a whole population within small groups selected. This allows researchers to obtain information about the population as a whole without having to investigate every member of society. The other property of representative sample is the research can be generalizable through representative sample. The researcher findings can be used to make general assumptions about the groups and the population as a whole, thus allowing cost and time to kept a minimum. This is basically what this population and sample represents. Population means whole, and when we are going to take the part or subset of it, it would be a sample. Now, parameter and statistic. In inferential statistics or in statistic language, the parameter is a characteristic of a population and a statistic is a characteristic of a sample. Simply we can say P for population and S for sample. Inferential statistics enable you to make an educated guess about a population parameter based on a statistic computed from a sample randomly drawn from that population. Figure 1 is illustration of how the samples and population are illustrated. Population mean or mu is represented by this sign, and statistic is represented by this sign. Statistical inference of parameter and statistic. For example, say you want to know the mean score of the students to a particular assessment type, parameter of a population. You draw a random sample of 100 students and determine that their mean score is 65, which is a statistic or sample. You conclude that the population mean score mu is likely to be close to 65 as well. This example is one of the statistical inferences. Following is the representation of how we are going to denote statistic and parameters in the table number 1. Standard deviation in sample statistic is shown as S, population parameter sigma, variance sigma square, and mean as a mu. Now comes the question, sample size. How much sample size we are going to take when we are going to analyze it. What is sample size? Sample size is the number of observations in a sample. It is commonly denoted N or capital N. Sample size measures the number of individual samples measured or observations used in a survey or experiment. A rule of thumb is always use the largest sample possible. The larger the sample, the more representative it is going to be. Smaller samples produce less accurate results because they are likely to be less representative of the population. Factors that are involved in calculating sample size are the total size of population being studied, margin of error, confidence level, and standard deviation. I hope you like the presentation. Thank you.